Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be showing you how to make one of my tiny tortoises. These are a super fast and super cute make that are great for market prep. This is written up as a free pattern over on my Instagram. So if any of you prefer having a written pattern, you can go find it there at squid_crochets. But for people who prefer a video, then you can continue watching and I will take you through the steps of making this cute little guy and also how I do the embroidery on the eyes. So for today's make, here's everything that you will need. First, you will need a body color. For me, I am using the grass from Baby Snuggles. You will also need a shell color. This is the chocolate from Premier Parfait Chunky. I also have some black yarn to use to embroider on my eyes. A 5.5mm crochet hook is what I use. I have a tight tension though, so you may need a smaller hook. I would suggest starting with a 5.0 or a 4.5 to see how well that works for you. A darning needle for sewing in all your ends. A pair of scissors to cut off your yarn. A stitch marker, and then some polyfill to stuff your creation with. To begin your tiny tortoise pattern, either create a magic circle or chain 2 using your body color of choice, and then 8 single crochet into that circle or second stitch. Now for round 2, we are going to be putting an increase into every one of these single crochets. So that's going to be 8 increases all around. So into your first stitch, make your first single crochet, add a stitch marker so you don't lose it, and then a second single crochet, and that's your first increase, and you're just going to do that all around until you have 8 increases or 16 stitches in total. And now we are doing our last increase and we are done our second row. So for the next 4 rows, we are going to be doing a single crochet in each of these stitches. So rows 3 to 6, you would just single crochet around. So do your first single crochet, place your marker so you don't lose your spot, and just single crochet around. So for our next round here, we are going to be doing some decreases. So to start off, you're going to do 4 single crochet. So that's our first single crochet. 2, 3, 4. Next, we are going to do an invisible decrease. So put your hook through the front 2 loops of the next 2 stitches. Yarn under, pull through, yarn over. That's our first decrease. And we're going to do that 3 more times for a total of 4 decreases. 2, 3, and 4. Now we are going to single crochet 4 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, before we continue on, we are just going to stuff the head, and you want to do it lightly. We don't want the head to be too heavy, otherwise it will make the tiny tortoise tip over. And we want him to be able to stand. Just add your polyfill until you get a nice, soft, and squishy head. All right, perfect. So now we'll move on to row number 9. So row number 9 is going to be very similar. We're going to start off with 2 single crochet this time. 1, 2. Add our stitch marker so we don't lose our place. Next, we're going to do 4 decreases. 1, 2, 3, 4, and finish with 2 single crochet. And here we have the head form. You can see that those decreases create a sort of chin on our little plushie here. Now for the next 3 rows, we are just going to be doing single crochets around. So that is going to be 8 stitches in each row. So starting with our first stitch, we'll work on our first row of single crochet. And there we have it. We have formed the neck. So now we want to sew the neck in half, or single crochet the neck in half. So we want to find the chin and then fold it to get these single crochets to line up. Now this is the chin, so you can see here we want to crochet 2 more times before we can start to close the neck. Because if we close it here, then the neck will go like this and the head will be attached on sideways when we put it on the body later. So it's very important that you find where you have to fold the neck in order to get the nice chin. And for me, I have to crochet 2 more times, but for you it could be 3 times, it could be 1 time, it could be any amount of times. So just find what makes it nice and flat for you. So we will start here with 2 single crochet. And now we can move on to closing the neck. So to close the neck, we are going to crochet through 2 stitches. So you can see we have our neck stitch here and the stitch we just worked. So what we do is we put our hook through the neck stitch, and then we put our hook through the stitch we just worked. Now we have those 2 stitches here. And then you are just going to complete a single crochet as normal. So for me, that's yarn under, yarn over, and that's 1 single crochet. And then you go into the next 2 stitches, do the exact same thing, 3rd, and then our final one, 4th. Perfect. So now you can just fasten off, and we want to leave a long tail for a bit of sewing. That's just going to be to position the head later. And we are now done the head of our turtle. So for the next part of our tortoise, we will be making the shell. So much like the head, we will be starting with either a magic circle or a chain 2. And we will be putting 8 single crochets into the circle or the second chain. Once we have done that, we will be putting an increase into all 8 of these stitches. So begin your first increase. Make sure to mark your stitch and increase all around. So for our next round, we're going to be doing a single crochet and then an increase into the next stitch, and we will be repeating that 8 times. So make your first single crochet, add your stitch marker, and now make an increase in the second stitch. Now for the next single crochet, and the next an increase. And just keep repeating this until you've made your way completely around the turtle shell. So for the next 3 rounds, we are just going to be single crocheting around. So we should have a total of 24 stitches now. So we will begin with the first row and just single crochet in every single stitch. So we've now completed our first round of single crochets. So we will be starting on the second. Now for this next round, we will be single crocheting around, but instead we are going to do it through the front loop only of our stitch. So you just put your hook through the front loop, make a single crochet as normal, mark it with a stitch, and then repeat across the rest of the shell. So keep in mind, you only want to get in through that front loop. You want to leave that back loop unworked for now. So now that we have finished that round, we are going to cut off our yarn and pull it through like that. And now we are going to do what's called an invisible join. So thread your yarn onto your needle. And so you can see right here is the next stitch that we would work into. We're going to skip that and go through the second stitch here, pull our yarn through, and then back in the last stitch we worked, where our active yarn is coming from. We are going to slip that in here, pull it through, and that is going to create a false looking stitch, and that's just going to give it a much more seamly finish than if we were to just slip stitch. So now we are just going to weave in this end, and as you may notice, I have a bunch of ends here. That's because my yarn broke in several areas or was of such low quality that I just had to cut out and work around it. So I will see you after we are done weaving in this end. So now that we have weaved in our ends, we are going to make a slip knot with our body color, put it on our hook, and then into the unworked back loops we are going to put our single crochet. So we're going to start off by just inserting our hook, pulling up a loop and then single crocheting, and then do that in the next stitch. And we are going to do 10 stitches like this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So for this next part, we're going to be working through the back loops as well as the 4 stitches from our neck. So for this, you first put your hook through the stitch in the neck and then through the next available back loop, and then you just single crochet as normal. So through the neck, through a back loop, and single crochet. Neck, back loop, crochet. Neck, back loop, crochet. And this attaches our neck and head to the body. So we're going to leave this long tail outside of the body because we're going to use that for sewing later. And now we are going to finish just putting our single crochets. So there should be 10 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and lastly 10. And we've now put a single crochet into all 24 of the back loops. We will now begin on row 2. So we're going to start off with 2 single crochet. So 1, and place our stitch marker so we don't lose our place. 2. Now we're going to do a bobble stitch. So yarn over your hook, insert it through the stitch, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. Yarn over, loop, pull through 2. Yarn over, make a loop, pull through 2. Yarn over, make a loop, and pull through 2. You can see now we have 5 loops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on our crochet hook. So we're going to yarn over and now pull through all 5 of those. And that is our bobble stitch. So now press it out with your finger and we will move on to the next. So we're going to be doing 6 crochet now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So make our next bobble here. We have our 5 loops. Pull through all of those. Now we're going to do 4 single crochet. And now we're going to do another bobble. And then we pull through all the loops. Now we're going to do 6 more single crochet. And to finish this row, we're going to do 1 more bobble and then 2 single crochet. Alright, so that is the second row of the body now complete. All right, you guys, we are nearly done with our turtle. We got 2 more rows to go. So for this next row, we are going to be doing a single crochet. Don't forget to place that stitch marker and then an invisible decrease, and we are going to repeat those 2 stitches all the way around this pattern. So single crochet, decrease, single crochet, and decrease. And our final decrease, and that is it for this row. So now we are going to stuff our body with polyfill, and you can go ahead and make this one a lot more firm because we want the body to be able to counterbalance the weight of the head so our little turtle doesn't topple over. So I'll see you once I'm done stuffing. All right, so for our last row, we are just going to be doing 8 decreases around. So do your first decrease, place your stitch marker, and repeat until you have finished this row. Alright, so here is how squishy I generally have my bodies. They're pretty firm, whereas the head's a lot more squishier. So now that I'm satisfied with that, I'll just pull through my yarn and I will begin to close the circle. So how I do this is I go through the front loop of one stitch, the front loop of the next stitch, and then I pull tight. I do this all the way around in all of these stitches. And now he's all sewn up, so just weave in your end from here, and then we'll move on to the neck. All right, so now we have the body all done. It's nice and sewn, but as you can see, his neck's a little floppy. So that's where this strand of yarn comes in. We're going to use this to sew up the neck, across the back, and then back down to keep the head in this position so it's nice and steady. So go ahead and thread your yarn tail onto your needle. And we are going to just insert our hook and then bring it up through the body and through a neck stitch. And you can sew this however you like, whatever's most comfortable for you. This is just how I do it. So I got it through the shell and the neck, so I'm going back into the shell and bringing it back up through the neck here. And we pull that nice and tight, and we're just gonna continue that up here. Keeps the head nice and steady. And then for this little turn, what I do is I pull it through the shell, and then I bring it through the back of the neck like this, and we pull it nice and tight. Then we go into the next part of the shell, if you can see that, and then we push through, pull it, then we look for the next stitch on the neck, and we go through that, and we give that a nice good pull, back through the shell, same stitch we came out of, go through a new hole, pull nice and tight. And then I like to see just how my head's looking. So I'm pretty happy with the positioning of that. So we'll finish off with the neck here. So in through the stitch, out through the stitch, give it a good pull, back into the shell, like so. There we go. Now we go back through the neck, through the shell, then through the neck. Through the shell again, and through the neck, and then finish off here with one last stitch. And then I like to just test him out by setting him down. And there we go, he is able to stand all on his own. So now it's just a matter of weaving in this end. I will see you after I'm finished with that. So here's the completed body of our little turtle, and you can see the only thing that he's missing now is his eyes. So I'm going to show you how I do the eyes myself. You can feel free to embroider them on however you want though. So we will get a long piece of black yarn, and we're going to just put that on our darning needle like so. All right, so then I like to go in from the front. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Generally, I start the eyes between rows 5 and 4. So through the front, we figure out where we want to position them. So I'm gonna come out through here, and I'm gonna pull my yarn until I have a little tail left. And that's what I'm gonna use to tie off at the end. So then I just find where I want my eye to be positioned. So I pull it up and I find the closest stitch. And then I'm just going to pull it through like this to create the first loop. You can see right there. And now I want to do that again. So we're gonna complete the second loop here. And then for me, I like to do this 3 or 4 times for each eye. So pull it through. And I'm going to do one more time. And instead of coming out at the bottom with my needle again, I am going to go slightly off to the side here to this stitch. I'm going to pull out and then pull through. And then just help place this piece of yarn there. That's the complete eye, and what I like to do is I like to add a little bit of a eye outline. So I'm going to do that here now, and I'm just going to bring this needle out to the side for the moment. And there we go. That is how I like to do the eyes for my little turtle. So now we just have to repeat this on the same side. So we are going to take a look at this stitch here and try to figure out which stitch on the other side is the equivalent, so they're equal. So looking at it, I think it is going to be the stitch here, right here. So I'm just going to bring my working yarn through and bring it up here. Now we're just going to stretch this and try to find the best stitch for where we want the second one. So we're gonna try this one right here, see how we like it. Create the first loop. Create the second loop. The third loop. And finally the fourth loop. And we're gonna come out to the side here to create that top eyelash sort of line. And then we're gonna bring it through and we're gonna push it and bring it back to where we have our working yarn. So now we have our 2 eyes, 1, 2. So to finally finish, we're just going to tie a knot with our 2 ends here. I like to tie it 3 times to be extra secure. And then I'm just gonna push my yarn through to the back. Pull this nice and tight to pull the loop in, and then just stuff in the rest of this end here. There we go. And in the back, cut off the excess yarn, put that aside, and then just use my darning needle to shove that into the back. And there we go. You have a completed tiny tortoise. If you want, you could also use safety eyes for this. You would just have to add them to the head before you start doing the decreases and stuffing. I prefer, however, to do embroidery just because these are perfect for small children and safety eyes aren't suited for children under the age of 3. So having it like this, there's always going to be a toy that a small kid will be able to get when they're at my booth. And there you have it. That is all you need to do to create your own tiny tortoise. I really hope you guys enjoyed this pattern. If you did, please leave a like and a comment down below, and I would really appreciate it if you could also subscribe to this channel as well. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!